The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
All right, welcome to the Earnestly Speaking podcast. I'm your host, Ernest. EJ Christian coming to you, quarantine lockdown on my last day in my 30s. Special podcast today, online with me. It's my sister, my little sister. Not little, she's only, a couple years behind me? Christina Cewe. Christian Cewe. Your name's a hyphenate, is it? It's not it's Cewe Foley, right?
It's not. It's not legally hyphenated. I just hyphenated on social media, on some social media.
Oh,
But happy early birthday! You're so old as AF.
You can curse, it's okay. And I know you asked me before the show started. You can. Oh, can I curse?
Well, yeah, you're old as fuck.
I'm old as fuck. Yes, correct. I mean, yeah, like you're like much younger than I am, though. I'm not trying to.
But I am though. I am.
Was it 13 months?
Yeah, that's a big deal.
13 months and 21 days, exactly. And your husband's going to be 40 this year, too.
I can't, honestly, Ernest, I can't even believe we're at this point right now.
Time, I guess time flies. I mean, is that apropos to say now? That time flies? Or is this what it is?
It's completely fine to say. We are middle-aged.
Like, there are moments where I'm like, I want to, like, slow down, because I want to enjoy what we have, young life, what do you want to call it. But then my two boys sometimes remind me, like, hurry up, get older so you get out the house.
Right? Like, it's like, okay, so you, like, want to have kids so badly, then you have kids, and then you go through this period where, like, I mean, every day I'm like, I love my fucking kids, and they drive me fucking crazy. But then, yeah, you're in this moment where you're like, shit, it's going to be so much fun with them when they're older.
Yeah.
Kaden was, like, asking me today, we were talking about stuff with, Nick and I in college. He's like, I can't see you having fun in college. I'm like, listen, I just need to be a certain way so that I know you can survive on your own. And, when we're older, it'll be a completely different relationship. And I really, as much as I don't want them to grow up as quickly, because it reminds me that I'm getting older, I'm kind of looking forward to when we can, like, hang and smoke a joint and do whatever together.
Oh, damn. That's serious, huh? I mean, you're at the cool point.
I mean, it's legal, right?
I mean, Caden's... maybe I don't know about Connecticut. I know down in Florida we're halfway there. Like, it's actually technically, medicinal. I mean, I have connections. So I wanted to get some, some of that stuff. I can ask my mother-in-law, for example, and she'll hook me up. No big deal, But
yeah, medicinal's like fine up here too. And I have rheumatoid arthritis, so I have a script.
Oh boy.
Well, legal.
No, and
by the time they're old enough, it'll be fine.
And Caden's 14, and that's the thing. He's 14 years old, so he's getting to that point now. He's starting high school next year, and obviously, that's the last countdown for him, the last 4 years, and then college time. I don't know.
And I'm going to bawl my eyes out.
Are you really?
I am. I mean, it's crazy. We were looking through a whole bunch of pictures yesterday, and they're all making fun of me, telling me that I was fat when I was pregnant with them. Yeah.
What?
They're like, oh my God, Mom, how long did it take you to get skinny? I'm like, ha ha ha, you're so freaking funny.
They are aware there was a baby in there. It's not like that you were the only reason you had a bump was because you had a baby.
Oh yeah,
in there.
completely.
I mean, right.
Completely.
But
no, it's just crazy to see, how small they were and how much they've matured and their personalities and who they've become, and just to think that they're going to be, Caden's going to be potentially gone from the house in 4 years. Well, actually, you don't know because this whole Corona thing you don't know where that's going to go. But anyway.
Could change the scope of our entire lives. Like, it may upend everything that we know about life for the last 30 plus years.
Yeah, we might be stuck with our kids in our house.
Don't tell me that, please.
Our whole plan of escaping might not work, Ernest.
Eli Logan, I do love you, but I had a rough one with Eli today. I had a rough today. He was rough today. I had to punish him today a little bit.
Really? Well, that's needed sometimes.
Strong.
It's funny. When we were going through the pictures, Connor and Tali were like, "Oh my God, Caden, that looks like Eli. You look like Eli. Eli looks like you."
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Like Uncle Ernest says that all the time.
Yeah, they look like Eli. Even now at 7 years old, looks like Caden at this age. It's really
cool to see.
It's really cool. Maybe it's the interracial thing. I guess I don't know.
No, I just think it's genetics. You and I resemble, and then I think Caden really looks like Dad.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just saw pictures of Daddy when he was younger, and they really resemble, and I think that's what Why? You look a lot like Dad to me.
Speaking of Dad, when are you going to tell him to stop spamming Facebook and Instagram?
Dude, he's old. I'm not gonna tell him anything. He's not gonna listen. He's
I
retired.
love
That's
Daddy. You're gonna hear this podcast. I love you to death, but my God, if I have to wake up again, wake up in the morning, go on my phone, and the first 10 plus responses or clicks or Earl Christian quote. Like, oh my God.
Oh, it's like 20 posts a day.
I think it was 10, 15 before I get to the first legitimate I'm not trying to say he's not legitimate, but it's like, oh my God, how many more can I get? How many more? He don't care though. But you know what? He doesn't give a fuck, and I love it.
Who doesn't?
He doesn't
care.
I
think once you get to a certain point, who does give a shit, right? You do what you want to do.
He's like, he told me once, I asked him that once, he goes well, I'm trying to motivate people, I'm like, okay.
You don't care.
Do you?
If they read it or not.
Exactly.
Just do you.
Do you, Pops? All right. So this is week 7 for me, the pandemic, locked in since I worked. Is the same thing for you, week 7 as well?
It is week 7 since I've been home with my children 24/7.
How are you
so now I
coping?
think it's almost as long as summer break.
How are you coping?
Well,
your IG's been hysterical.
What?
Your IG's been off the chain the last couple of weeks, especially. Holy shit!
I mean, I've been up and down, and people are like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" Obviously, it's crazy to go through. This is the new norm. I'm super positive, and I am still very positive and a motivated person, but it's a new experience, and I am a social person. I like people. I like interactions. I feed off people's energy.
You're an extrovert. You're definitely an extrovert. That's without a doubt.
Yes, I am extrovert. I definitely am an extrovert. I do have introverted tendencies,
but
I
love
that way, to know what's going on. And it was a hard adjustment. It's been a very hard adjustment. I mean, I work from home normally, but I work and I'm able to go out at night and go out to dinner and, do stuff. So it's been interesting.
So basically, the only change for you has really been the kids are home 24/7. Number one, you being told you can't do this because basically you're under lockdown. You can't go here to eat and here to do this and that. So that's really the biggest change for you is really just much that, right?
Yeah, and I don't really like confinement. I don't like being restricted. So that's been a growth opportunity for me to learn that I can deal with it.
You hate rules.
And I'm used to traveling. Not that I hate rules, because I follow rules to a certain extent. But I'm normally on a plane at least twice a month, right? Yeah. So I'm never really here 24/7. We're also renovating our house, so that's not something I was ready for, to be stuck throughout the entire renovation, working from home with my kids, and I feel bad for them too. They're not seeing their friends. I can't monitor them 24/7. I also can't, there's some moms, and I'm not hating on anyone, but the moms that are like, oh my God, quarantine's fucking amazing. I get to do 24 crafts a day and spend all these times with my kids. I'm like, good for you. I can't, so it's a different, I read something and they're like, we're all in the same storm, but in different boats. My boat has a lot of shit going on and it can be stressful, but I'll keep my ass away from people, social distance, because I want to save the planet and not say that, our senior citizens are, people that we can get rid of, because I don't believe that. But I hope it's going to be fucking over soon.
Well, Florida is starting to reopen phase 1 on Monday. That doesn't include South Florida, though. I don't know if you've been following that.
I was going to say, that's all North Central Florida. And it's all because of the concentration of people, I would assume, right?
Yeah, the density of the population, right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for me, okay, so I'm going to be honest with you, and I wrote a blog about this last night. People were responding to it pretty well to it. That I'm not necessarily hating this. Obviously I have my moments where I'm like, get me the fuck out of here. I need to go, do whatever. I like to go this place. But I'm not necessarily, I'm you and I are very alike in that way. I'm an extrovert too myself, but I love being home. I love being in my own bubble. I love it. When I'm out, I'm out. I'll have fun, whatever. I'm able to socialize with people, but I love being home. So, again, the kids sometimes get me crazy, whatever. But I'm not necessarily hating this. And people are like, "Oh, are you missing sports?" I'm like, actually, no, I'm not missing sports at all. And people are shocked when I say that.
Well, I will say I miss seeing sports on TV or just having the ability to watch sports on TV.
Mm-hmm.
I miss that, and I think that's okay. It's not like it's ruining my life. I don't want to sound like, I hate this. I think what's stressful for me is I see the opportunity, like if work wasn't as busy for me and my norm wasn't normally working from home, right? Like I don't ever go to an office. So for me, that disruption in what other people's work lives are didn't happen for me. What happened was more things got put on our plate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's that adjustment, that stress level has been difficult. And normally we have help to do a lot of things. Normally we wouldn't have planned a renovation if we knew COVID-19 lockdown was coming. So we're going through a couple of other stressors on top of it.
But doesn't the time down, I guess, to some degree actually help with maybe the renovation? I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
I don't have any downtime. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So we didn't get any. Nick and I don't have any downtime, and I don't want to complain because I know like work situations. I am grateful that I'm working and that I can pay bills. That I'm definitely grateful for. But my stay at home isn't, the same as somebody else that maybe is a stay at home mom normally and now has their kids at home, or someone that was able to be at home but doesn't have to complete their job or do their job from home.
I remember you trying the whole stay home mom thing. That wasn't for you. I remember that.
Yeah, I did it with the first kid. Had a
Yeah.
couple of months.
I remember you saying, I can't do this. Like, it's okay. Everybody knows their gifts. It's okay. No, everybody, you know your gifts.
Right.
Like,
Each his own. I think you need to know what your strengths are and know what, you need in your life. And I needed adults. Love my kids.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound like...
No, sound like yourself. Be real.
It's a hard job to stay at home with, your child and just do that. I think it's very difficult. And I had help. And so I can't say like that. It was just mentally I needed more stimulation.
It's funny because like there was a point like a couple of years ago before Eli started school that Lauren and I were really considering like homeschooling him just because of the schools around us we weren't impressed with and stuff. And then we look at it now, like she was saying to me tonight, like, thank God we didn't do that because homeschooling is hard. It's really hard. We didn't really consider how bad hard it was. Yeah.
I'm about to homeschool my kids, and there's a difference. So I don't necessarily love virtual school right now because I don't think it's set up for independent learning. Mm-hmm. But I did before so my kids were off for 2 weeks before they started their virtual school, and I found an amazing platform that was independent learning, and the kids loved it. I mean, they've been begging to go back on it. Like Connor was like, they explain stuff so much better than his homeschool right now with the school district. So Nick and I are not opposed to actually homeschooling because there's just so many different options out there that we're learning about.
And maybe because the ages, because they're a little older. Connor he's 10 now, 11, right? 10? No, 9. He's 9, right?
Connor's 9. He's going to be 10 this summer.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Holly's 8. Yeah, and Caden's 14. Yes, so the ages definitely have something to do with it, for sure, 100%.
I will say this much. Eli, to his credit, is doing very well with it. He actually likes the virtual Zooms and all that with his class, with his teacher and whatnot. He does it 3 times a week. He's actually flourished pretty well with it for the most part. So I can't say that is not something we wouldn't consider in the future, but I just like the hands-on stuff that we need to do, like with me or Lauren, with him to do stuff. It's a lot tougher than I realized. Like I give full credit to teachers. Teachers are, man. Let me tell you, teachers are probably the most unappreciated people in this country, even in the world.
And they need to be paid more. I think
absolutely. No doubt.
And I know in the Northeast they are compared to Florida. I think Florida definitely needs, and I do agree with your governor in that respect that. And I hope he follows through with that the teachers get a raise. Yeah, I don't think they're paid enough.
He has been very, very forthright about that. Wanting to pay teachers more. That's I will say that.
Yeah, so I definitely hope that happens. But I'm not made to teach.
No, and again, it's about knowing your gifts, knowing who you are, and knowing what you can and can't do, and
right.
And that's it.
And teaching in the traditional sense, right? I don't want to have to sit there and discipline my kids and teach them about, teach them school matters and then have to also teach them life skills and all that other stuff along with it and have them listen to me. It just, the dynamic is very different. I want to be able to have a break in my day where I can laugh with my kids and not have that. So I do like the independent learning platforms where they can go learn their stuff.
Absolutely.
And then they can come have fun with mom.
Right. Absolutely. They'll kind of give it like a separate, thing. A little space.
Delineation, yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So last week you this is one of the cool things about this pandemic and being able to go through this, and is people finding ways to communicate and whatnot. Last week you were part of the American Idol season 1 reunion that was hosted by Justin Guarini last week. Other people probably don't know this, that you were in the top 6 debut season 2002 American Idol, and you were part of the reunion last week. How was that?
It was really cool, so I had a tough day at work and I posted something about needing a huge glass of whiskey. And one of my fellow Idol contestants, Jim Burrows, texted me. He's like, "Is everything okay?" And we started chatting. He's like, "It'd be great to get everybody together." So we immediately did that. I have Zoom, and I pay for it every month. And I was like, "Oh, let's host a session, a video reunion," and we did, and it was fantastic. And from there, a couple of us posted that happened, and Justin Guarini, who hosts the show every Wednesday, was getting a bunch of messages about, "Oh my God, we wish we could be a part of this. Can you do something live?" And so he just quickly, he pulled it together within 2 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was very quick. Decided to, do it on his show. And so we were able to pull it together. So it was really nice just to catch up with everybody, and see how everyone was doing.
And nice turnout too, like for how short notice it was. Not very nice turnout. A lot of people were on there commenting and remembering 18 years ago. It was really, really cool, actually.
Oh my God, it was 18 years ago. We're so old. I was 21.
Yeah.
21 that season. Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of my regrets still to this day is I didn't. I know I couldn't because I was working on and some shit going on back then. I couldn't get out of work to come visit you during the show and back in 2002. But that's one of my biggest regrets. I didn't make it out there to see you perform.
That's okay. We all have situations that are going on.
I remember Dad told me, "Can you make it?" I don't know if I can make it out of work because short notice. That whole 2003 is a blur.
They weren't letting families visit for a while anyway.
Right.
So Kelly and I really had to fight for that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was short notice because of that.
Do you miss performing?
I miss being able to create music, I would say more so. I loved being in the studio and writing and just, creating.
It's the best.
That probably was the most fun for me. And then I would say after that was performing the music I liked creating. I didn't, when we were on Idol, I didn't like being forced into a genre that wasn't one I was normally used to singing.
Right.
So that was really difficult for me. But I do miss just the creative aspect of it all.
I remember you saying to me years after that you really wanted to do more like rock stuff.
Yeah, I auditioned with
Alanis
Morissette's Secret Song, and they were like, "Oh no, you're black, you should do R&B," and that was just never something that I really sang. So that was just the music business back in the day. Really, that I had to.
I hate it. I fucking hate it.
But
honestly,
at the end of the day, I'm very thankful for the opportunity. It's led to so many different things in my life, and I learned so much about it.
I remember
I learned actually after looking back, and I'm like, I would just speak up more. I wish I just spoke up for myself more. I was very quiet on the show, so people thought I was super shy and not talkative, which was really
you
funny.
Shy, really?
I know.
that's funny. that's hysterical, actually.
Yeah, you learn about what the perception was afterwards. That's where I was off. People were like, "Oh my God, I thought you were so shy," and the judges thought I had I was just very quiet. I was like, "That's hilarious."
But just funny. I remember listening to a lot of like bands in the mid 2000s, like Paramore and Flyleaf and whatnot. I remember saying to myself, your voice could fit this kind of music too, like this, kind of like rock, maybe it's a tinge of hard rock, but I remember saying to myself, you can do that kind of music, guys. Your voice lends to that. It's really a shame that people say race, "Oh, well, you're black, we're gonna put you in the R&B or urban section." No, I couldn't. That's so.
The world we live in, bro.
I know, it sucks.
But it's changing, and it's changed, so it's it's good to see.
But it's changing
For
now
sure.
the fact that you have control about what you want to do now. Like you have more I mean, obviously with the social media and everything else, you can just do whatever you want, build your own brand from the word go. It's not hard
Right.
anymore. You just need more. But so now you're working in the streaming industry now.
Yes, I have been for about 6 years.
And you're from what I can tell and what we talk about, you're pretty passionate about it.
I am. I mean, it's the way that the world is going, right?
Mm-hmm.
The company I work for, our CEO, actually, him and his co-founder, who passed away during 9/11, he was actually on the plane that
Really?
that crashed the Pentagon.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
so they created the ability to stream. Like that's their patent. That's how our company was created. So we're the leaders in that space. And just to think about how it revolutionized technology, right? Just being able, like websites and being able to stream media. I mean, who would have thought, like when we were younger, that you could just like use a cell phone and go to an app and start looking at Disney movies and give it to your kid and keep them quiet.
It's crazy.
So
that's crazy.
That's what we do. Yeah.
And I think what is too also like what's really fascinating is that how fast we've come to this point. Like I didn't own my first cell phone until I was like 23. Really, honestly?
I know they were big back then. No, I know
they existed,
it's crazy.
but
like going back, like we grew up. Nick and I were actually talking about this last night. He was like cracking up. He's like, "Remember, we used to go get a tape and you could record the songs off the radio, and then we got our Walkmans, and then from there is Discman."
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Now we have Bluetooth speakers and Bluetooth, headphones. Like it's just so crazy how fast."
It's the pace more than else. And obviously we're always going to progress and try new things, but it's just the pace with all that that's really shocked me.
Yeah.
I can watch movies on my phone. I mean, not even 15 years ago you can say that.
I know, it's nuts.
It's insane.
It's so crazy, and all the different streaming services that are coming out, and all the content that we grew up looking at, is now digital, and we could reminisce and enjoy all of that. Especially now that we're all home, and this new normal will probably be home even more.
Don't tell me that. I'm enjoying it, but I'm ready to get back to quote unquote normal. So what accounts do you
I can't talk about that.
Oh, you can't. That's right. You can't. That's correct. You can't do
that. Yeah, I can't. My bad. NDA on that. But I definitely would encourage people, if you're a Comcast user, to stream Peacock. Look at Disney Plus.
They are out in June. Peacock.
So Peacock, if you are a Comcast X1 customer, you can now stream Peacock. It's a limited amount of content right now, but the big public launch comes out in July, and it's free for everyone, actually.
Interesting.
So, I mean, you could look at all the seasons of The Office, which I know you just finished.
Oh, almost done. I'm at the end of season 9. I'm at the middle of season 9.
Okay, so almost finished. You get, with Peacock, you also do get your, like, late night shows. You can watch them early, which I think is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, live sports. There's a bunch of Spanish language television and telenovelas and things like that, which is great because they're like the largest growing demographic in the U.S. But it's just really cool. You have access to so much stuff. Like I was on yesterday, just like scrolling through. I was like, oh my God, there's Care Bears. Do you remember me like watching that when we were younger?
Yeah.
I can teach my kids about that. But yeah, I mean, the industry has changed so much.
I am curious though, in your opinion, why has it taken like networks like NBC and whatnot this long to catch up? Like, you think that there would have been at least
it's ad revenue.
Platform? Okay. Cause I know
it's all money.
I feel like the one service that might suffer is Hulu. Like, unless they bring up more original content, they're gonna suffer.
Hulu's with Disney. So you don't know how that's eventually going to evolve.
Right.
But Hulu's owned by Disney.
They might end up just making that one big whole thing.
Almost 100%. They're not 100% owned by Disney, but they're almost 100% owned by Disney.
Cause I remember for a while, about maybe 6-7 years ago, like Hulu was owned partially by 4 different networks. Yeah, and now that's changed now.
Correct.
Right. See, I was part of the cutting the cord thing way earlier than anybody else. I cut my cord in 2012.
It's funny. we cut cord and then we went back to having cable, but we have cable plus Hulu plus Disney plus Peacock plus plus Netflix plus Apple TV,
Yeah.
Amazon Prime Video. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. I think whoever really dominates on the content side, whoever can continue to produce premium content that people want to look at, they're going to be the winners, right?
Right.
But I always feel you're going to have options. But I think the leaders will always be the ones, and that goes back to how broadcast is, like just normal broadcast. People will watch good content.
Mm-hmm. To Netflix's credit, they're still ahead of the game because they knew they couldn't maintain just having licensing deals with other companies. At some point, they have to pay up for it when it renews again. They got into the content creation game pretty early, and they've had some really great shows through the years. So, to their credit, they've maintained that. Whether or not this happens, it stays this way in 5 years, it remains being seen. But they've maintained stay ahead of the curve because they've established some content now to where they can, coerce, consumers to want to get their product. You know what I mean? House of Cards, Stranger Things, a lot of documentaries now. They really are, and they have been sticking to original content. Like you can, you still see like licensing stuff on there, like older shows on there, but it's less of that now and more original content now for them. They have like the last 3 years they just flooded the entire platform with content. It's crazy. Well,
yeah, I mean their licensing agreements had come up, and they knew that some of these other things were coming out, right? So they have to invest heavily in content. They're doing a lot of partnerships. I mean, you're going to see consolidations. You're going to see partnerships between different groups. Looking at Last Dance, I mean, ESPN and Netflix
were
the ones behind Dance, right? So ESPN is on Disney Plus. It's a Disney-owned company, and you're seeing, them partner for different content. So I think that's going to continue. I do think Netflix has, and you see that they're definitely investing heavily in their own content, but you're going to see that with the other players too, the other large players. So I just think it's going to be fun to watch it all unfold. Mm-hmm. And I think the consumer is the beneficiary.
Speaking of Last Dance, 4 episodes in, how you enjoying it?
Freaking love it. I'm obsessed with Jordan. I've always been, I've been missing sports, and it's just nostalgic, I think especially now with this whole COVID thing, you're looking for things that make you happy. And that just brings me back to a really happy time in my life, just watching him and watching the plays and remembering watching, the playoffs and the championship games with Dad and my mom, and, our family's so big into sports. So I think that it's a very good feeling to be able to watch him play. And I also think it helped me appreciate other players. Like I remember being upset with Pippen because the media made it seem like he didn't want to be with the Bulls, right? Hearing the story, now I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe all this stuff is going on that you didn't know about back then. So it really made me even appreciate him more, appreciate Rodman more. I mean, beforehand, I would be like, oh, they could have done it without him just because he was such a distraction. I just thought he was such a distraction, again, based on the media. And then to realize that, like, Jordan, and Phil Jackson let him be who he wanted to be, and that's what, pushed him to be even greater. I mean, that was fantastic to learn.
Yeah, and it's funny. And it's that you just said there, which, I've been very critical of Phil Jackson the last 10 years. Not because he's not a great coach, because he's definitely one of the top coaches. But I've said for the last 10 years that he might be a little overrated because you had Jordan, Pippen, Rodman. Then he goes to L.A., has Kobe and Shaq. Okay, he won with the top of the top, the tippy top players in the league. And he never took over a team from scratch the way let's say Pat Riley did or Greg Popovich did.
No, here's why I will challenge you on that, and this is learning it from Last Dance, is the way he's able to connect with players and why he's to figure out like how he connected with Rodman. I thought it was so pertinent, and that the last episode when they were talking about how he grew up in Montana and he just felt he was so different, right? Mm-hmm. And then to connect with Rodman on that level. Right. And let him be who he was. Like, he understood he needed to give him his room to just let things out, and realizing he'll come back and do what he needs to do.
Well,
that's a great leader, right? It's not always, it's being able to connect with your people. and bring out what's
right.
best in them.
Well, that's just it too. And after watching the episode on Sunday, I changed my position again. Like, wait, I may need to take a step back here a little bit because, you might have had the tippy top players, but to manage those egos, especially that team, the 96, 97, 98 teams, to manage Rodman's eccentricities, Jordan's, obviously the biggest star in sports, all sports, not just basketball, all sports. Pippen and his disgruntledness with the front office and his contract and not getting paid enough, which is still his fault, by the way. And then Jerry Krause and what he was trying to do, not realizing, understanding even more in detail that he has to go through all that and still maintain what he maintained for those last 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why after this Sunday, I was like, wait, let me take a step back here. Phil Jackson has got to be the greatest coach of all time because to do that and still maintain at that top level is no, I don't think anyone else could do that, honestly. Like, Pat Riley would have left.
And now think about when he went to the Lakers, right? Now that we're now learning all the back office stuff.
Yeah.
We don't know what back office stuff he had to deal with the Lakers, and he still went there and kicked ass.
Yeah.
Like, it's, again, his ability to connect on that level.
Well, I have his last book. Well, not his last book. I had the book he wrote about the 2004 Lakers. The year that was the year Kobe went through, Colorado and all that, and the last year Kobe and Shaq together. I was critical of Phil being so open about his criticism of Kobe Bryant after the fact, but looking back at what he had to deal with that, plus what he did with Chicago, it makes sense now. It makes total sense.
Yeah.
I have to agree. He's the greatest NBA coach of all time. I have to change my position again. Maybe 1A, 1B a pop, but I mean, Phil's incredible, man. That's hard.
Completely is incredible. And then talking about Kobe, it's funny just watching The Last Dance, and I know Kobe always talks about how he looked up to Jordan and modeled himself after Jordan. Mm-hmm. I just watching Jordan play, like you just see Kobe, the way Jordan walked, like, when someone studies a player,
it's carbon copy.
So much of Kobe Bryant is Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Which probably hurt Kobe to some degree because probably reason why LeBron probably gets a little more. No, the media helps, of course, too, timing, all that. LeBron is an original. We've never seen LeBron before in our lives. With Kobe, it's a copycat. But it's funny, like,
I don't want to call him a cat. It's not a copycat because I think I don't want to say a copycat because you can't. He had to have a certain level of greatness to even mimic or learn from someone that was that great. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's just somebody he respected and admired. I mean, as kids, we look up to our parents, right? I mean, I model so much of myself after my mom and my father. Mm-hmm. So I think it's admirable to do. I think his body type, things, everything lends to mirroring Jordan even more. You'll see it.
Yeah.
I do think LeBron does stuff. I look at him and sometimes I think Shaq, or I think, I see parts of Jordan in him. Like, they all do that. You look to the teachers that came before you. But I think even the demeanor, I think what Kobe got from Jordan too is just his demeanor as well.
Yeah, the mindset more than anything else. No. And what I was saying too, it's funny with Jordan. Like, I hated Jordan as a kid. To some degree, still hate him now. More so on the competitive, not because he's not the greatest of all time. He's the greatest of all time, and that position will not change. It's just that I wasn't a Bulls fan. Like, you and Dad and Eric back then loved the Bulls. I've been a Heat fan since day one, since 1990. So Jordan constantly shit on the Heat every time they played each other. Constantly. It was annoying to the point like, I hate this fucking guy. But acknowledging he's the greatest of all time. What's funny, though, is that while Jordan's the greatest of all time, I actually am more interested in Kobe Bryant's life than I was in Jordan's. I find Kobe Bryant a lot more interesting than Jordan. It's weird.
I think Kobe Bryant was a little bit more open because of the time he was playing, right? Mm-hmm. When Jordan was around, like, we just weren't into everyone's life back then either. We didn't have as much access either. So I think we learned a lot more about Kobe's life. And then obviously with some of the issues that happened, it was a lot more public, right? I think if Jordan came up in our time, like, he started obviously when we were really young, but if he was starting when Kobe started, and then even with social media, it'd been a lot different, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's interesting. I know you didn't like him, and I know you weren't like a Jordan.
What's funny?
Like Chicago fan.
But this is funny though.
Like,
it's just funny, Chrissy. Like, I hate the Bulls or whatever, but I know so much about Jordan. I know so much about him.
Because you love sports and and he's the best. I mean, he's the best in basketball.
Yeah. It's just
but
weird.
For me, I never was necessarily, and I still to this day, I'm not like team focused. I love watching the sport. Like I'll watch basketball, I'll watch so many different, teams play. And I love the Heat. I mean, I sang the anthem for them for a while, but even with football,
what year was that?
I love watching great football. Like I just like watching football, like great plays, people that play well. It's just exciting.
Well, you're a Gator fan, of course. I mean, I don't know. Sorry.
Okay. So that's different.
I know you have to. I know. It's your school. I'm just teasing you.
But I like watching FSU play too. Like when there's great games, I love just watching great athletes play.
Yeah. Like I'm really enjoying this. I mean, it's funny. I have like so much. Like I have like a couple books on Jordan here at home that I'm revisiting again. I have a lot of old. I have Eric's DVDs still. I just told him that last week. I still have it. No, Eric had a brother. Had a 3-disc set of Michael Jordan's greatest VHS, but it's on DVD though, from the 80s and 90s. And he let me borrow it back in 2001, I think.
What?
I still have it. I told him on GroupMe a couple days ago, like, by the way, I still have your DVDs. You want it back? He didn't say anything though.
Shit.
He's like, that's where. No, he was like, oh, that's where it's at. Yeah, I got that shit. No, it's funny. Like, but dude, like watching him, you can't help but admire the guy, dude. Like, geez, that guy's so good. Like, it's and this whole thing is taking me back. Like, episode 1 and 2, I really didn't learn much because a lot of that stuff I already knew about. Episodes 3 and 4, I learned a lot more. Like some of the details. And I gotta tell you, you might disagree with me here a little bit, but the most fascinating person in this entire documentary is not Jordan, it's not Rodman, it's not Pippen or Phil Jackson. The most interesting person to me in this documentary is Jerry Krause.
Yeah, because you're like, what the fuck, dude?
because he heard the stories, And look, we can be two things can be right here. Jerry Krause was not respected enough as an executive. He made the moves to get Pippen and Grant in the draft. He made the move to fire Doug Collins when it wasn't popular and Jordan hated the move for Phil Jackson head coach. He made the moves to get Rodman.
I mean, I don't think anybody was, and everyone gave him credit for that. I think where he messed up is that ego got in the way, right?
Well,
he wanted to have the spotlight, almost just, or at least that's what they're making it seem like. Is that he wanted the Jordan spotlight?
He wanted some credit for it because his thing was that the front office, shit is just as important as the players, or more important. And no, the front office is important. I mean, the reason the Pats have been so great the last 20 years is because not just Tom Brady and the players, it's also a stable front office, a phenomenal head coach, and and all that. You need all three phases to work. But the way he handled it, like two things can be right here. He was a great executive, but he also was a buffoon the way he handled last year.
Right.
Tim Floyd, like really? Tim fucking Floyd? Are you serious? Come on now. So
that and like the owner, I forgot his name, the owner of the Bulls
Jerry
said, it's just
Jerry
the way he did it, right? So that's, unfortunately, his legacy was tarnished by the way he handled himself.
And that's it, Chrissy. I'm glad you said that. Why isn't Reinsdorf getting more criticism for how he handled that? Because it's like Krause, the middle guy between Reinsdorf and the players. And yet Krause is getting shit on the entire time. When in fact, it's Reinsdorf could have put the kibosh to it. He could have fired Krause a long time ago.
Think about it. That's what he did with Phil Jackson, right? He realized the tension, and he went to Phil and said, "We're gonna, keep you." And then, he went above Jerry. I mean, he could have done that, but you can't do that all the time, especially if you're gonna keep your your GM.
Yeah. I don't know.
Can't step on his decisions, but it was interesting to learn about all that back office stuff. That I mean, as a young kid, I'm just thinking like, granted 16, 17, Pippen just wants to leave and he just wants to destroy the team. That's what I remember thinking was Pippen got an attitude and Pippen got an ego, and he's messing up the Bulls.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the whole Jerry Krause, Phil Jackson debacle.
Mm-hmm. It's I don't know. Looking back now, like I remember some of it back then, but it wasn't so prevalent. It wasn't enough to register to me. I was more about the on-court stuff, As I got older,
Right.
obviously you learn. You're like, oh shit, okay, makes sense. But
All the politics.
yeah, it's crazy. It's really crazy how it ended. You know, it really is crazy. But oh well.
But I'm glad they put it out. It's super happy. Can't wait to see the next two this Sunday.
Well, did you see that? What you know? Why did you see the reason why he put it out? I don't know if you saw that. Like, he's held. Jordan has the rights to the footage, and
Yeah, since the beginning, he negotiated that in the beginning before they even started filming.
right. And if this is true, I tend to believe this. He didn't decide to do this until 4 years ago when LeBron won his ring in Cleveland. He's like, okay, we're gonna put it out now. We're gonna do it now. And I think it's like a little bit of ego there on Jordan's end, a little bit of a legacy, trying to remind folks of who he is.
So I heard it was ESPN also going to him saying to put it out. So again, I think media can twist stuff.
That's true. I agree.
And again, I love Jordan, so I'm probably biased. But what I had read was that, people have been pushing him to put it out.
Mm-hmm.
And they said the whole Kobe thing, they said the Kobe thing kind of triggered it. And then for him to do it. And then, I forgot what's the name of the producer?
Which one?
The one that's doing it now. He met with that producer and was just like it's the same guy that did Detroit Pistons. Oh my God, can't remember his name right now. Bad Boy.
What's funny, I actually had the director on this podcast like 5-6 years ago for the Bad Boy, promoting that. Still my favorite documentary of ESPN's.
But
bunch.
that's why Jordan went with him, because he liked that documentary.
Yeah. He's
like, that documentary made him cry. So once he had the right director, he was like, we're good to go.
Ah.
Don't go hating on my boy.
I'm not hating. No, I'm not hating on him. No, I think Jordan's amazing. I'm not saying. When I say I hate Jordan, it's coming from a respectful place.
Okay.
Because I hate the Bulls. Come on, I still hate the Bulls today. By the way, you were giving me shit a couple weeks ago when I told you what was the thread I put out there where I was like, I listed 11 things I hated that people like, and
you said John Legend.
Yeah,
what the heck's wrong with you?
Yeah, a lot of things wrong with me, of course. I'm turning 40 tomorrow. No, John Legend. And people, you were one of the people shocked about that. Like I don't think you knew I didn't like the guy.
I mean, I think I respect what you believe about music. I think you are a lover of music. I definitely think you have certain genres that you like more. I was shocked because I thought you would see his ability to create music and respect that. You might not like his sound, but I think he has he's a strong ability for creating masterpieces, whether or not it's your thing or, your type of music or not. He creates masterpieces.
No.
So I don't love Tom Brady, and I don't like the Patriots. Well, I don't like Tom Brady with the Patriots, but I respect his game.
Of course.
I respect his skill.
Okay, so I do recognize John Legend's talent. John Legend's won 4. He had a 4-peat of accomplishments. He won a Tony, an Oscar, a Grammy, and I think Golden Globe, right?
I believe so.
I mean, not like I care. I don't like the guy. I'm joking. No, it's amazing. No, you know what it is? No. Is he talented? Is he a good singer? Yes, absolutely. Is he a very talented musician? Absolutely. His music does nothing for me. That's all I'm saying. I like maybe 1 or 2 songs. I like the song I like the most.
So you like a song?
Well, it's like
you can't hate him and like a song.
It's not even his song. Isn't it the Green Light song with Andre 3000? Is Andre's song? Or is that his song?
Okay, but he's still on it. Okay, what's the other song that you like?
It's one song. That's it. Sorry.
No, you said.
Oh no! I'll give you this, and it's only because I love the group that did it with them. Because I'm a big fan of the Roots. The album the Roots did with him back in 2013 or 2012. Good record. But that's more so because of the Roots. I'm a big fan of the Roots.
You're so funny.
I mean, but his stuff, it just doesn't do anything for me. I don't know. It's the same with Adele. Adele is a phenomenal singer.
Okay, we can't talk anymore.
Why? No. I actually don't mind Adele, but I don't. I'm like.
Here's
what
I will say. I mean, it's amazing. I'll tell you with Adele. Connor, right?
Mm-hmm.
The soundtrack, I shouldn't say soundtrack, the album that would put him to sleep, the minute Rolling in the Deep came on, that kid, if he was crying, didn't matter what he was doing, would just stop crying.
Was that 25 or 21?
Get settled. 21.
21.
The same with like James Blunt, You're Beautiful,
Yeah.
Caden could be screaming his head off. The minute he heard that track, he was quiet. And to me, if music touches a baby like that,
Yeah.
there's something about it.
No, I get it. I totally get it. It else could be the fact that like Lauren played Adele a lot. Years ago, there was a time when she got into her, and she was like playing her every single day, and I was like, okay, enough already, please, enough. I don't know. But that could be the reason why I got a little like fatigue on her. Although,
but then even like you don't like Celine.
Oh, I love Celine. What? I love Celine Dion.
Do you?
Oh my God! I wanted to go to a concert a couple months ago. I missed it.
You should. It's amazing.
No, I'm dying to go see her live.
Okay, you used to make fun of me back in the day.
I make
Why
fun
don't
of
you all of a sudden like Celine?
No, I make fun of you because it's fun to do that. You know, I'm a big brother. I can do that. You know, come on now. Okay. no, dude, I love Celine Dion. Are you kidding me? Absolutely. Phenomenal. I actually had a
But I'll say, like, even, I mean, I love her voice and I love her music, but she didn't write her stuff. So I think in terms of, like, and not to argue John Legend, I think John Legend creates his music.
Oh, no. And again, mad respect to that, because I'm big on that. I mean, I play in the band quite a lot. I wrote music with
right.
members. So I understand when I look at that as who's a great musician, this and that, I look at the bass, one of the things, that criteria I look at greatness is creating the material you sing, not just someone giving it to you.
So maybe that's why I was more shocked that you were like,
It's just that the stuff he does, I'm not a fan of. I was like, okay, he just bores me. He's not Luther Vandross. Like, I love Luther Vandross. You know what I'm saying?
So you would just get sick every time you heard like All of Me on the radio or some other.
Oh God,
song.
Oh God, yeah, I'll throw up.
They played that song out way too much.
I rather hear the Baby Shark song like a whole day than hear that song All of Me.
You know what? I think it's on the same level. I hear you there.
Well,
I'll agree with you on that one.
Baby Shark.
Baby Shark and All of Me are on the same level.
That song is banned from our house. Logan's never heard it because we don't allow him to listen to it.
You know what? Nick came in our kitchen, was singing Baby Shark because he heard it on something. I was like, dude, stop.
This might not be something to admit publicly, but I'll say anyway. Like, Laura and I have certain things we won't allow our kids to listen to, even though it's appropriate for kids. Like, Baby Shark is one of those things. We won't let them ride that Small World out of Disney World because it's annoying as shit. What was the other one that we had also? Oh, Frozen. Banned.
I can't agree with you on that one. Cannot. Both Frozen 1 and 2 were great movies. We're not going to argue on this.
I'm more Moana.
When I'm back in Florida after this COVID thing, I am going to have the boys watch Frozen.
Oh, Lord.
Moana's great, too. I think that was a great film.
I think Moana might be the most underrated. Yeah, I think that might be the most underrated
that
Disney
was great,
film.
yeah.
No, I mean, I'm not the biggest Disney guy in the world. Lauren is. I'm not necessarily. I do like it. I'm just not. No, I was more of a Looney Tunes guy growing up. Looney Tunes, Hanna-Barbera. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But I don't know. So no Frozen.
Give me Disney ballads all day long.
Huh? You?
I said, give me those Disney ballads all day long.
Well, if it's a Lion King, absolutely. Come on, Elton.
Yeah,
Come on, Elton.
I'll tell you something that might shock you.
What's that?
I had this conversation with Dad earlier. I watched some video a little bit ago, and then it scrolled. You know how like Facebook scrolls onto other videos, and it was a video of Mr. Trump back in the '80s on John Letterman's show.
Mm-hmm. Wait, our president? Our president?
The president of the United States. I'm not going to say our president because he's not mine. But
POTUS.
Yeah. I said to Dad earlier, I'm like, listening to him then, in his 50s, and listening to him now, he's a completely different person. He was so structured, like Letterman was trying to get stuff out of him and he was not letting it out, right? He was very just careful and calculated, and it was like a different person. You know how some people are saying that he seriously might be suffering from something?
Dementia?
I think it might be true.
Okay, so I don't.
I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna send this to you because I was in shock today, and I don't like him. And I was like, I'm just gonna look at it because it came up on. I was like, maybe there's a reason to it. The universe is sending me something. I think there is a serious issue, and I think the people around him that are just letting him, do what he's doing and say what he's saying, it's malpractice. I think, and they're purposely doing it, and I think it's awful.
Well, okay. So my position on that is this: I think Donald Trump has always been this person. He's always been narcissistic and whatnot. It's that we.
I'm not saying he wasn't narcissistic. I'm saying he was more. You can have your shit, but when you're leading, you should be able to monitor what comes out of your mouth. You should be able to have control. He does not have he has lack of control.
So I'm not a Trump guy. Everybody knows that. But he is entertaining as shit. I'll give you this. He's entertaining as hell. Like I love watching his briefings with the media. I can't even
do it. I won't fucking do it. It pisses me off so much that I won't do it. Like I'm like, and Nick will put it on because he wants to. He's like, you need to hear what the other side is saying. Like you need to hear the shit come out. I'm like,
Nick is kind of right. Nick is kind of right though, because only because like if you have information is power. If you have information, okay, well, I heard this side too, and I didn't agree with this side also.
It is ridiculous.
That's part of
it. I was trying to give him some credit. You just went on saying that he was entertaining. He is not entertaining. He's an ass.
No, I'm not going to vote for the guy in 20. Obviously, come election time, everybody knows that. But I don't know if it's a political issue. I don't mind talking politics, by the way. But I'm just saying that I don't like the fringes. I can't stand the both far left, far right bullshit. I can't. It gets and maybe because I'm a centrist, I get from both sides.
Well, that's how I am. I don't like the extreme. Like you should be able to think for yourself. And I think that's the biggest issue I have right now is that. I mean, we can go into a whole bunch of stuff. The lack of education in this country, like an uneducated electorate is easy to manipulate, but people are not thinking for themselves. When the whole bleach thing came out and I was seeing like shit bombarded on the media, I like looked up the transcript and I looked up Fox to get a Fox source to make sure that this is what actually came out of this man's mouth. Mm-hmm. Because media, and I'm not going to use the term fake news, but media is sensationalized, right?
Absolutely.
It's the story and it's ads. And so there is some, and I'm not going to say credibility. There is some, what's the word?
You can say fake news. There is some fake news.
No, I don't want to say that. And I don't want to say credibility because I don't give credibility to Trump, but there is something to what he says when the news manipulates stories, because they do. And
it's funny.
Right, because he's a marketer and he dictates it and he knows how to manipulate it. He does know that. He hasn't lost all his marbles. It's so
funny to say that, Chrissy, because I just said that. What you just said there, I've said twice in the last couple episodes of the show. Like, there's some, what Trump's about fake news, there is something to be said about that. It's just that he uses it for his own gain.
Completely. And I don't even like watching the news. I don't like watching it anymore because it's a whole bunch of talking heads. Like, just tell me what the hell is going on. Tell me what's going on. And maybe I need to just go back to local news because there's not as much talking heads. The national news has really taken over. Mm-hmm. But it's like, just tell us the stories. Tell us straight. Communicate to us effectively and tell us what's going on. And maybe that's why people are like in love with Andrew Cuomo, because he just does that. He breaks it down and he tells you the facts.
You like Cuomo?
Yes, I think he's doing a very job communicating to the public.
Mm-hmm. I think he's doing a good job. Some people write, some my right winger friends are saying, "Oh, no, he's not all that great." Like, okay, you stay in the old bubble. It's okay.
Because they have to defend their opinion of who they've voted for. Yeah. Right? Some people.
No, of course.
Don't look bad.
Well, that's the thing too, though. Like, I don't. This is why I give. You have to be very careful with this. Not all Republicans like Donald Trump. In fact, I will put my life on this, that the majority of the Republican congressmen there don't like him at all. But because they know they get their policies passed because of him, they will spite their nose. They'll just close their nose, shut their mouth, and just okay, whatever. Their job is just to insulate him enough to not do anything stupid. More than anything else.
You know what though? They're protecting him way too much. They might not like him, but they're diminishing their own value.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I'm really curious how this election is going to go this year because you add this specter now, the pandemic and all that. This can go either way. I don't know. Joe Biden's going to be the obviously is the presumptive nominee for the Democratic Party. I mean, are you okay with that, Joe Biden? I mean,
I'll definitely support Biden.
That was your first choice, though, right?
Out of who we had to pick from,
yeah. you have to say it if you want to. You don't have to say it. it doesn't even matter because for
here's
me anyway.
What I say. I liked somebody that didn't get much traction. I really liked Tom Steyer, and I actually donated to his campaign. I like Joe Biden. I will vote for Joe Biden. I liked him even when he was running in 2008. I liked him. I liked him a lot. I just didn't think this time around, in the beginning, he was going to get the nomination. I was really worried about that. So I was really trying to look at, all of the candidates. I think the Democrats came at it the complete wrong way. It was just too many people in the pool of candidates. I thought that was just a mess. I'm not a leftist, so I'm not going to go the way of Bernie Sanders.
Right.
And I don't really love Elizabeth Warren, and some of the other people were just, I thought the ideas that Andrew Yang had were very strong.
That was my guy.
I just don't think he came across very well in the debates. He lost a lot of viewers that way. And I think Pete Buttigieg, I hope I said his name right.
You did.
Was very strong. But I don't think people were ready for him either.
I love Yang also. Yeah.
Obama-type candidate who, although Obama wasn't perfect, he was somewhat liberal in certain areas, too liberal for me in certain areas, but I liked he was more of a centrist. Mm-hmm. He was a fantastic communicator. He was uplifting, and I don't think there was that type of candidate in this, pool of candidates at all. And it's going to be hard to find that type of candidate again, I think.
Wait, you don't find Donald Trump uplifting? I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Lysol.
But you know what?
Take some Lysol.
Will see how he could be. I think he's charismatic. I'm not going to. I'll tell you why I think he's strong. We argued. Do you remember this when we were in Florida? I thought he was going to win.
Trump?
I thought You don't remember this?
You were scared as shit, and I said, "Don't worry about it." Don't worry about it. I think I underestimated how unpopular Hillary Clinton was because I told you.
But it's not only that; it's his charisma with a group of people, in this country. He spoke and he got through to a certain demographic in this country, and people underestimated his influence.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, it's so fascinating how we got here. I remember you being so scared, and I remember the election night. You're like, "Tell me this is not happening." I go, "I think so. I think it's happening."
Yeah.
Lauren cried. Lauren was pissed off. Lauren was. I think.
Oh, Nick couldn't get out of bed the next day.
Dude,
I was traveling for work because I was on location with a customer because they were covering the election,
mm-hmm.
and we were there until 2-3 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back to the hotel, and the next morning I'm talking to Nick, and he's like, "I'm going to keep the kids home from school."
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did say that. I remember that.
Yeah.
It's funny.
It blew people away, but it didn't shock me as much because I knew I just felt it. Remember, I was one of those people that when Obama was running, I forgot what I was out in LA doing, but I got on a red eye.
Mm-hmm.
And I flew back, and I was in line at Sunrise at Bank Atlantic Center in Sunrise at 5:30 in the morning to stand in line.
In 08?
In 08, yeah, to meet Obama. And Eric came and met me, little shit, right before I went in. So I waited online all that time, 4 hours, and he comes and he gets in, and we were there to watch Obama speak, and I shook his hand, and I literally jumped over chairs to meet him and shake his hand and meet Michelle.
This is not Justin Bieber, Chrissy.
Beyond that. So, I had that forever, right? So, when I saw that same emotion in people in Florida,
yeah.
I was like, we lost Florida. I knew we weren't going to win. in Florida. I knew Florida wasn't going Hillary's way.
Well, Florida's always been, for the last 30 years,
but it went
1%
Obama's way twice.
1%, 2%, the most.
It still went Obama's
way.
No,
right, agreed. This is the, the purple state of purple states. Like it is the battleground of the battlegrounds in this country. It's literally split, pretty much 50-50. It's changing that demographic too. Also, where like way down south is all mostly liberal, blue, and then you start going north, it's all red. You know what I mean?
But you have to remember, there's a lot of people that voted for Obama that ended up voting for Trump this time around.
You know why, though, right? And let's be real here. This is why I tell folks, don't get in people's, people like, oh, Trump supporters and that. A lot of folks were not so much the Obama part, but
Hillary, I get it.
They didn't like her. Chrissy, I didn't like her. Now, the difference between me and everybody else is I voted for her, but I voted for her because I didn't want him to win. That's why.
Right.
Any other candidate, like if I think you and I even agree with this. If John Kasich would have won the nomination for the Republicans, it was against Hillary Clinton.
He would have got my vote.
Exactly.
100%.
Yeah, we agree with that. So, by the way, are you still mad at me for voting for George Bush in 2004?
No, I got over that. I really like George Bush now.
Oh my God! How far? 16 years later, also how far we come? Yes, like George Bush.
I mean, he is much better than Trump.
Well, so I was a registered Republican back then too. Don't forget, number one. Okay, 2000 I voted in the election. I voted for John McCain in the primaries. He lost to Bush. I voted for Al Gore in that election though.
See, but I'll tell you, with John McCain, I would have voted for John McCain.
Oh,
and I'm not a party person, like, because I don't like people to tell me what to do,
right.
Tell me how to think. So I like to really pick my candidate. But I would have voted for John McCain because I like John McCain.
Well, here's the thing. I was actually split on Obama and McCain in 2008 until he picked Sarah Palin as his.
Palin?
Yeah. Once he said when Sarah Palin's his running mate, I was like, no, I'm not doing it.
So I liked McCain when he was in the primary against Bush.
In 2000.
In 2000. That's when I liked him. When he came out against Obama, I was already Obama because Obama, I'd been following him for a while. He was a centrist. I liked his ideals. Mm-hmm. He was just charismatic. He was my man.
Yeah.
Palin was a freaking joke, but
she's still a joke.
It's a waste of time.
Even as a Republican, I'd be saying that. So is that a party thing? I'd be saying it as a Republican too. She's a joke.
But no, I mean, I hope through all of this we learn. Everything that we're going through, I hope we learn. I hope we improve. I hope we realize that there's a lot of weaknesses in our economy. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of weaknesses, in the way we prepare our next generation. And I hope we make big changes. I think this is a time where we really need to dig deep and make big changes.
So that being said, Joe Biden, if you had the choice to pick his running mate for November for VP, who would you pick?
I know he committed to picking a woman,
which is stupid in my opinion.
I think he did that at a time where before this whole crisis started. But I think one of the biggest things for a leader is even if you make a statement, right, doesn't mean you have to stick by that statement if there are valid reasons why you shouldn't.
Right.
I think this entire situation, and I'm not doing the Cuomo thing, people are like Cuomo. I've been following him throughout this entire pandemic, because of how effectively he communicates and how methodical he is and how logical he is. And I think that's what Biden needs at this point. I think Biden has the experience on a global level. I think Biden has the empathy. Mm-hmm. I think Biden is older, though, right? And needs someone a little bit younger that's still with it, right? Mm-hmm. And I think you'll still get the female vote with Andrew Cuomo because of his leadership throughout this situation.
Oh.
I do.
So you're saying Cuomo?
I think Cuomo should be it.
See, my thing is the whole thing with the female thing, like, it's not that I don't want female to be the running mate, because I don't care either way. is that why would you put yourself in a hole, in a corner? This, and first off, wasn't it Bernie that was asked the question first, and then he said, "Oh, I would too."
Want to be picked. I would never want to be picked just because I'm a female.
Exactly. That's my point.
Pick me because I'm the best person to be picked. And
that's what I'm saying. That's all identity politics. And I can't stand that shit.
Right. And Elizabeth Warren, what have you come out to say during this pandemic? Right? Where are the other female candidates? Kamala Harris, who I admire. What have you come out on the national stage to say around this pandemic?
I don't know.
Right?
Stacey,
if you want to pick a leader from during a time of crisis, I think he has somebody he can go to that is leading this country right now.
If he were to go female, though, let's say he sticks to his guns and say, "Okay, well, I said female in February. I'm gonna stick to my guns." Who would be the female you would most want him to select?
I think if he needs, so there's a couple. If he needs money, fundraising ability, Elizabeth Warren has been that person to be able to fundraise, right? Mm-hmm. But and I do think she's smart. She's articulate. She's not my cup of tea. But I think that would be a smart choice,
right?
If he had to pick a female.
I agree. And I think I said this too also a few months back. Love her or hate her, in the same way Trump does it, she cuts through the noise a lot better than anybody else I've seen on that debate stage. Like, she can still cut through the noise. The way she lambasted Michael Bloomberg during the debates, I mean, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, and she cut through the noise.
I agree. I might not like the tone of her noise, but she, she's good at what she does. I'll give her that.
That being said, I think Trump still wins. I'm sorry. I don't. You get 4 more years of comedy.
You know what I would say? I'd want to see. I can't say that yet. And I know I was 4 years ago, I was like, he's going to win. I'm afraid he's going to win. But I want to see how the next couple months unfold. Mm-hmm. Because I do think people are angry. I know a lot of Republicans who voted for him before that are not going to vote for him again.
I know a lot too. I know quite a few actually.
So I think that is different from last time.
But is it enough to want to vote for Joe Biden? Because now you have a lot of angles here. You may have this Justin Moss character come in.
I think he showed. I mean, the biggest thing, you're a leader. You showed that you can't lead. And if you're a sensible, educated person that is not influenced by marketing, that is a free thinker, you should be able to see that the way this was handled, if he was the leader of a company, he'd be removed. If he was on a board, he'd be removed. If he was a bank president, he'd be removed. If he was a principal at a school, he'd be removed. So if you're going to think about that,
right, in
that respect, then he needs to be removed from his position.
This is the way I look at it real quick in a pie. 30% of the country is going to be Trump no matter what. He has that 30% no matter what. 30% of the country is going to be voting blue no matter what. The middle 40 is going to be the one where you have to waver. The middle 40 contains never Trumpers, contains Bernie Bros, independents, NPAs, undecideds, people who may not even care. And that's what you have to really win over, is that middle 40. And Democrats have a hard time with optics. Had Bernie won a nomination, the never Trumpers who don't like Trump may still have a hard time voting for Bernie because of his policy ideas. It's too far to the left. And now that Biden's won, they're going to probably vote for Biden now as a result. You have the NPAs though, and the independents that they may think Biden's too old. I don't. The Democrats have a lot harder. Is going to have a harder argument to present than Trump, in my opinion. Trump isn't going to change who he is. Trump is who he is, and he's made it this far. So that's why I'm.
You know what? At the end of the day, though, this is the biggest crisis we've been through in the last 50 years.
Oh, easily.
And the way it's handled, there is not a person that can say he handled it correctly. And if you do, you're a bullshitter, you're talking shit, and you're a fucking idiot. I'm sorry. There's just not. Because if you were dealing with an issue at your school that had to do with your kid, and the principal laughed and was sarcastic and told your kid to shoot bleach, or told your kid, or just like spoke the way he spoke or said the shit he said,
yeah,
I don't give a shit how educated you are, how much money you have, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You would not stand for it.
No, I agree.
Right? So a lot of people are just trying to stand behind their decision because they don't want to seem wrong. And that's what we're up against. People don't like being wrong. A lot of people can't admit that they were wrong. Right? It's their own ego. So the people that can, look and say, I made a mistake, and that are bigger thinkers and that are, can think beyond that and not just about themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and then aren't selfish.
Right.
Regardless of who they voted for before, will make the better decision for the country. Because he acted as a jackass. He was not a leader. And I'm putting my hope in those people, because I think we have a lot of people that do think for themselves, that maybe didn't come out before to vote because they didn't like the choices that they had. But I think they're fed up.
Yeah, I think you're right. By the way, I love that as you get older, you use the F-bomb more and more. It's great.
I cursed all the time when I was younger. I just didn't do it a lot around family. I was already the boss.
No, do you know who did lockdown? Was our brother Eric. All the time. Oh, and Dad used to tell him to shut up. Like, stop doing that. Stop saying F-bomb. I curse a lot. I curse a lot too.
I know.
We have this thing in our house called G-rated time with the kids, and we have like R-rated time with it. Once there's
You gotta be able to let it go. Believe me, you'll start doing it again around the kids as they get older.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We kind of do now. No, I'm not trying to promote that, but yeah, we do curse. I can't help it. Sorry. Fuck. I can't help it. Get it out. Anyway, fun
Happy
podcast.
early birthday, brother.
Thank you. You're my last podcast guest of my decade, should I say? So that was fun.
I enjoyed it.
It
was good.
We'll do it again soon.
For sure. I love you.
I love you too. Take care, all right?
Talk to you tomorrow.
All right, we got it. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.